Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA Nations round number 2 at Bathurst in Group 3. As you can see they're starting from pole position, TRR Lightning with an insane lap of 1 minute 59.8. Extremely nice lap there in the AMG GT3, which actually seemed like a very strong car at this track. You can see starting from P3 there, Org in the AMG GT3 also, and a very low 2 minutes flat, and all the way through the grid. This was one of the most competitive lobbies I've been in a long time. It seemed like the BMW, the Mercedes and the Supra were the cars to pick. Also the Ford GT extremely strong at this track. We all know that that car's good anyway. It was just, I wasn't sure about the tyre wear issue with that, and maybe I should have checked that car out because I did used to love driving that car at this track, but I haven't tried it in race conditions since the latest patch, I think it is. You can see also the Supra there. We all know the Supra was very strong at this track from the daily race it was on not too long ago. But you can see there, I'm actually starting from P11 in this lobby, which wasn't brilliant, but we were only 8/10ths behind pole position on a 2 minutes flat 0.7. It wasn't a particularly amazing lap, but it wasn't the worst lap possible. And P12 there, IRT Nisman, and going through the grid, you can see how competitive this lobby is. No one's in the 2 minutes 1 yet, all the way down to P14 and still in the 2 minutes flat. This was a very competitive lobby. You can see Calster still in P15 under 2 minutes 1. Really competitive all the way through the grid. And the first car into the 2 minutes 1 in P16. So this really shows you just the level of this lobby. I think it was 2,900 and I think it was just under 2,300 points for pole position and for the win in this race. And starting from last position there, McLaren 6. That wasn't representative of his pace. I know that he was faster than that. I think he had an error or something went wrong in qualifying. He didn't quite time it right, as his pace was obviously a lot better than what that shows. So we're going to start this race starting from P11. The main aim of this race is to try and make some sort of progress, which is going to be really difficult in the lobby as competitive as this is. The Corvette, I think, was an okay car for this race. It was consistent to drive. However, I think the tyre wear issues with this car, it seemed to have a little bit of tyre wear issues compared to other cars like the BMW, the AMG GT3 and the Supra. As we see coming out of turn 1, the P10 actually has an issue getting on the power. I take advantage of that. We're going to go side by side now into turn 1. Can I hold it round the outside as we go through turn 1? Just about holding it round the outside and onto the power nicely, and actually get ourselves on the outside now, working our way up the hill. And the Corvette should have a little bit more power than the, I think it's a BMW on the left there. We should be able to have the power to get past and put ourselves into P10, which we've done, and gain the position straight away. So that's nice to see. You can see already nearly 6 seconds down on P1, obviously starting from that far back. So it's going to be really difficult to make any sort of grounds on Lightning anyway. I mean, I expected him to be about 5/10 to 7/10 faster every single lap as it was. So he's going to be gone. Obviously no chance of really getting a win in this race when you've got people like Lightning in the lobby. But you can see starting from now into P10, the aim is to just try and see if we can make up a couple of positions. I expected people to make mistakes at Bathurst. It is a very it's a track that will catch you out if you lack any sort of concentration through any of the corners. You can see pushing extremely hard through there with the Corvette, and now on the downhill section just trying to control the braking all the way downhill and trying not to make any stupid mistakes at this point. Obviously you can see pulling away, actually got ourselves out of the slipstream from P11. However, we're not in the slipstream of P9, which is a shame. We really wanted that slipstream to help pull us forward to the other cars, but we're just gonna have to try and drive it in a bit of clean air and just try and keep some consistent driving now as we work our way to the end of lap 1. At least so we've got through that lap 1 by making a position up and keeping it reasonably clean. So if we can make up a couple more positions and get ourselves into the top 8 or 7 by the end of the race, it will be a decent result in a lobby as competitive as this. And especially I think we were only one of 2 drivers that were using the Corvette all through the races. I think in the top split there wasn't many people in top split using the Corvette. I think since its BOP change, it's the extra weight that they added. I think they added 2% weight to it. They did give it 1% power, but I think the 2% weight has made it a little bit slower. That's why no one was driving the Mustang, because they did the same thing with the Mustang, which has totally killed that car off in my opinion. It doesn't feel right anymore. But you can see going up the hill now, we're going to pick that slipstream up off OVRD. And are we going to be able to go for a move? Although the Supra is such a strong car in a straight line, you're going to see now as I go to pull out there to go for a move, and there was a car obviously taking a penalty, so we've actually moved up another position there. But you can see we haven't got the straight line speed to get past that Supra. The Supra is such a strong car down the straights now. I think it's not far off the Ford GT, which is absolutely insane as we go through that corner there. And just about keep it without spinning the rear end. But we're into P9, so it's not a worst case scenario. It's not the worst thing to happen. But we've got box entertainment from Forza series, if any of you know or follow the Forza drivers. One of the fastest drivers on the game in the world on Forza is behind us now and pushing very hard in that Ford GT, which is a car that I think I kind of regret not picking that car, because it's a car that suits me around this track. I have used it before in an FIA season, actually got pole position in it, and I think we were leading from some very fast drivers like RC Mura, and we made a silly mistake. But I think with that car I would have had more potential of picking up some big points. However, I decided to go with the Corvette for just the consistency. I do like the Corvette's gearing around this track. I just think it is lacking a bit of ultimate pace as we work our way downhill now. And what you can see now is that Ford behind us in the slipstream. Just look how much it gains in the slipstream. It is unbelievable when it gets, as soon as it gets your slipstream, that Ford, because it picks up its speed high in the revs, it starts picking up the speed in 6th gear at the end of the rev range. And look at it coming behind us. I'm going to have to go defensive. From 6 tenths back or 5 tenths back, I've had to go defensive into that corner. That is just how fast that Ford is in a straight line. It's a very, very strong car. And the Corvette seems to be suffering since they have weakened. It's actually added more weight to the car. So it's a change I don't think was needed with the Corvette, if I'm honest. Like the AMG GT3, they didn't change that. And I think the Corvette was never overpowered at any like particular track. I think it was a kind of a nice BOP where it's a tricky car to drive sometimes. It's not the best on tyres, it's not the fastest, it's not the best handling. It was just a nice middle ground car, but I don't know why they kind of added the weight to it. Maybe they should have just added, like just took the 1% power off, or just left as it was. I'm not too sure really. But going into the braking there now, we're going to try and hold a very tight line to the inside and try and hold box off, which we do just about as we work our way up the hill now on lap 3. Trying to hold on to this P9 position, but we run a little bit wide there. Missed my braking. I was actually looking in the mirror, and box takes advantage. A little bit of contact there, which was probably my fault. I would have gone for that move if I was box as well into that corner, as I made the mistake, so I would have probably thrown it up there as well. But we lose that position back down to P10, but not the worst. We're still one place ahead of where we started, so we just need to hope that some other drivers make a few errors, which is very likely at a track like Bathurst. Like I said earlier, you know, these types of tracks do catch people out. It only takes one little mistake to lose a lot of time as we go on the downhill section now. And now we've just got to try and hold on to box and try and stay in the slipstream. But just look how fast that Ford is. It is just on the downhill section it's strong, but then it's even stronger on the straight line. So it's going to be hard work to make any sort of gains on that Ford in this race. But there was ways I could try and get myself back ahead. You can see I've got to try and stay in touching ground with him. We're nearly losing the slipstream already. You can see even though we're in the slipstream, we're losing time down the straight. That just highlights just how strong that Ford is compared to the Corvette now. But we're going to go into the braking just past the 150, a little bit earlier now. Obviously the tyre wear kicking in on the Corvette. You can see the front tyres are going. We've got IRT Nisman, who is very close to the slipstream. You can see he's actually in the slipstream behind us, so I needed to try and make sure that I get him out the slipstream going up the straight, because I didn't want him being able to go for a move and you know, putting me under pressure at the top of the straight. So gonna have to try and hook this corner up out this left hand corner now, braking just past 100 down into 3rd gear, trying to hold 3rd gear so we can stay on the power all the way up the hill now. And we actually did that quite nicely. Actually did that better than box in front of us and got back into the slipstream, although that Ford's then going to pull away again because it's got so much straight line speed. And we're just about far enough ahead of IRT Nisman to stop him picking up a massive slipstream behind us. As we go into the right hand corner, it looks like box is starting to struggle a bit now with the tyre wear on that Ford. Obviously after about lap 4 it does seem to struggle a little bit, like the Corvette seems to struggle with understeer. It seems to pick up a little bit of understeer and you have to be a bit more cautious on the braking, whereas the Ford starts to get a little bit twitchy to drive, the Ford GT. But working our way up the hill now, we're going to carry on pushing as hard as we can through the fast flowing corners and see if we can hold on to this P10. It looks like the 2 cars behind us are battling really hard, and that's good for me. That gives me the ability to increase the gap. You can see it's over 1 second now. But like I say, the plan at this stage was I could see that Box seemed to have really good speed in that Ford, so I decided at this point, if he's going to stay out, I'm going to go in the pits, because the Ford should struggle a bit on the final lap, and it might give me the chance to jump back past him. Well, it should do, as long as I get a clean lap with no traffic. So we're going to work our way down the hill now, and then we're going to come into the pit stop phase and you're going to see some people are going to go for that risky undercut. It is a risk because you can gain up to 2 seconds or 1.5 seconds. However, you can lose out if you come out behind another car that's gone for the extra lap. It can really cost you if you get stuck behind them on the middle section going up the hill and through the fast flowing corners, because there's nowhere to really overtake at any point at that part of the mountain. But you're going to see now we're about 1.3 seconds behind Box there. He's staying out. I decide to go in the pits and risk this now. As we go into the pit lane, you can see Force there has actually done the mistake that so many of us have done in the past. Missed the braking point and gone straight into the wall. Very common mistake to make, a very easy mistake to make, but that's good for myself. That puts me up 1 more position and in a reasonably good position in this race. So now we've just got to try and see where we come out when we finish the pit stop. Are we going to come out in front of, or just behind anyone, or someone who's not pitted? Let's have a little look as we come out the pits, and no, we're in completely clean air. This is really good news for myself. You can see IRT Nisman still over 1 second behind us, so he's not in that slipstream, so this is all good for myself. Now I've got a clear bit of track. Will we be able to jump back past Box? The only problem is, I think we're the only. I expected to get ahead of him, but would we be able to get enough ahead of him and be far enough ahead that he won't be in the slipstream? That was the important thing. Although I pretty much knew from the speed that he was showing in that early stint there that on fresher tyres, that Ford GT is going to probably be at least 3-4 tenths quicker than this Corvette a lap. I didn't think there was going to be much I could do, but I wanted to try it. You never know. The plan was at this stage, because I saw Nisman that had gone in the pits with me, I was hoping that he could obviously put a really good outlap in also. You can see I'm pushing really aggressively on this outlap, trying to hook the corners up, and I was hoping that Nisman might be able to jump Box as well, and then it could hold up Box for maybe an extra lap and give myself the opportunity to hold on to this position. So let's just see how this works out. Will I be able to jump Box, and will IRT Nisman be able to jump him also as we go onto the back straight now, trying to get on the power nice and early upshift into third gear and working our way down the long straight now. You can see 1.7 seconds ahead of IRT Nisman at this point, so we look to have got that position fairly covered in terms of he's not in the slipstream. It looks like we're not under too much pressure from him at this point. He's staying fairly equal type of pace, but he's not able to get in the slipstream as we've got a group of cars right in front of us there. You can see, and I think one of them is going to go in the pits now, as I think it's P11 there is going to go in the pits. So this is all going to change now as more cars have pitted. You can see there cars that we were actually ahead of pitted and Boxes into the pits, and let's see where this ends up as we come out of turn 1. It's going to be interesting. Have we done enough to get past Box and be out of the slipstream? We did do a very nice outlap on that lap. You can see 1.7 seconds ahead of IRT Nisman. Looking in the mirror there, I can see Box coming out the pits, and he's actually just ahead of IRT Nisman. It looks like Nisman's about 4 or 5 tenths behind him. It's a shame that he wasn't that little bit closer. Maybe would have got past him, because that would have been really important for myself. It might have been able to hold Box up a little bit there, but you can see we're just over 1 second ahead, so we're going to have to just do the best I can now. We're on lap 6 out of 9. We're going to have to just see if we can hold him off as best as possible, although it's going to be very, very difficult, because obviously when you've got a lap pressure tyres on the soft tyres, it's the equivalent of doing 7 laps less with the time 7 multiplier on. So you can see in front of us there we've got P5, I think P6 and 7 there battling very aggressively, and just in front of them we've got P5, I think, also not too far up in the distance. So we've got a very, there's a chance of some good points. If it only takes one driver to make a mistake, like I say though, in these top flip races, it's not very often that people make big mistakes. People tend to drive very well and keep it very clean and don't really make too many errors. We're into P8 at the moment though, so from P11 we've gained 3 places at the moment, so it's not too bad. But at the moment now we're more worried about the driver behind than the drivers in front. I didn't, obviously I think some of them drivers in front also had slightly fresher tyres as well. I think 1 or 2 of the drivers, I think like Lightning and Org, also pitted on lap 5, and like Box did behind. So it's going to be about more defence really than attack. I don't think we're going to have the pace to really put on the drivers in front under too much pressure in this Corvette. As you can see, going through the fast, well, that is a corner there that the Ford really excels on. You can see how much he's gained through there as well. He's actually gained, he's in the slipstream now, and he's going to be able to really be putting us under pressure on the back straight. If he's in within 4 tenths of a second now, so that is pretty much the perfect range to make a move at the top of the hill. As one car there, it looks like he either missed his braking or something's gone wrong there, a mistake or contact, who knows. But we're now up into P7 and we've got Box right behind us now, so we're going to probably lose that position though, so it doesn't matter though, because this is going to be really close as we go through turn 2. Are we going to be able to hold on to this position as we go into the braking, trying to hold it very narrow line, because I didn't want to run Box into the wall, giving him plenty of space. I could have probably pushed a little bit more aggressive, but I decided to lift early and let him go, as we've got another car on the right hand side there that's made a mistake. So we're actually into P7, even though we lost a position. It would have been P6 if we would have held that position, but not really much point fighting that position too much. Box had more pace, fresher tyres. There wasn't really any point battling too aggressively at that point. I decided just to kind of let him go on the inside and see if I can hold on to the slipstream for any sort of time. As, like I say, you know, my race really at this point was more with IRT Nisman than it was with myself. Than it was with Box Entertainment. So we're going to just carry on pushing as Box there, driving very aggressively, nearly losing control of the car. So this is why we've got to try and keep it consistent, because it will not take much before one driver makes, you know, an error that could put them out of the race. But you see there, Nisman's actually gained a little bit, obviously with that battling with Box. He's actually got himself back to 1.2 seconds behind. So I now need to just try and concentrate and try and keep it smooth now to the finish. We've got two and a bit laps to go. Can we hold on to this P7? P7 would not be a bad result at all if I can hold on to this. You can see we're only a matter of a few seconds behind P4, so the pace wasn't terrible. It wasn't brilliant. I think the car selection wasn't the best. I think maybe the Ford GT or the Supra would have been the better choice of car for myself, as I've not really driven the BMW M6 that much. I do like the Ford GT, and I have tried the Supra around this, so maybe I should have tried the Supra, but we stuck with the Corvette because it's a car I know. I like driving it here. I like the way it's geared. I feel consistent driving it. I felt safer driving that car, so that's why I decided to use it for this round as we work our way up the hill and just about keeping IRT out that slipstream. So at this point now, all I was really concentrating was to try and make sure that Nisman doesn't get in my slipstream. That was the main aim, was just to keep him behind and keep him over 1 second behind. As long as he doesn't get under 1 second, then he shouldn't be able to get past, because the Corvette's good through the early gears. It just lacks that 6th gear, and I think he was in the, I think possibly Nisman was driving the Lexus, which is pretty similar in terms of acceleration and pace compared to the Corvette. I think also the Lexus might have had a nerf in the last BOP change, also that took up 1% power off possibly. But look how close this is up in front. We've got P4, 5 and 6. Box is putting some really aggressive driving on them fresher tyres in there, in that Ford GT, and really putting them under pressure now. Is he going to be able to put them under enough pressure to start making them make mistakes? We're not losing too much time to some of them drivers, so I think some of them drivers also must have pitted on lap 4 with myself, so fairly equally paced compared to them. We're just not able to get into the slipstream, which is obviously frustrating, but like I said, at this point it's just about holding off Nisman, who looks like he's had some sort of issue on the mountain there. He's dropped back over 2 seconds behind, so now I can afford to take this final lap quite comfortably. I don't really need to push too aggressively now on this final lap, as you can see we're over 2 seconds ahead, so I've just got to try and take it easy. I think P9, who's behind IRT Nisman, actually pitted on lap 5, so he's going to have fresher tyres, so as long as I can go over the line 2-3 seconds ahead, it looks like we're going to be able to hold on to this P7 all the way to the finish. I've just got to try and keep it comfortable as the car's in front battling very aggressively there, as it looks like Box was going for a move for P5, but hasn't made it stick there. I think he was trying to go around the outside. Is he going to be able to make a move at the top of the hill? This is going to be a little bit harder for him to get past this Supra. The Supra also has very strong straight line speed, and that Supra's got the inside, as you can see, as they're battling away. This is actually quite good for me, because I was thinking at this stage, if they end up taking each other out, we might be able to pick up a P5 and get some very solid points from this race, and then I might have not needed to do any more racing. But you can see as we go through turn 2, they go side by side through there. Is Box going to be able to hold that and go around the outside? But no, it looks like OVRD is going to hold that inside line in the Supra and keep that P5 position. So some good driving up ahead. Looks like it's fairly clean so far, and we're just holding on to this P7. You can see on the final lap as there we have a little oversteer moment. IRT Nisman staying about 3 seconds behind now, so it was fairly comfortable at this point. I didn't really need to overdrive the car. I just wanted to keep it fairly consistent, because like I say, if they make a mistake in front of me, I need to be able to capitalise, and if they pick up a penalty, contact penalty, anything could happen at this point of the race as we come into the final half of the final lap. But you can see this is very close. You can see how close it is still. We're only a matter of a few seconds behind P4, I think it is there. And it actually looks like Box has gone for a move on OVRD and actually lost out a little bit. Maybe the tyre wear kicking in and had a little bit of a moment on the rear as we're now going down on the downhill section, and it looks like he's too far back now to make any sort of gains. And it looks like the P5, 6 and 7 is pretty much sorted. You can see P7, P8 has actually changed over from Nizman. It looks like there's been some sort of contact or issue there between P8 and Nizman, but we've managed to hold on to this position. Not a bad drive, kept it consistent all the way to the finish, and a fairly solid race one. You can see holding on now, just one more corner to go. You can see P4 just about to go over the line in the other Ford GT as Lightning takes the win with an absolutely amazing drive. Very well done to Lightning in that AMG GT3, picking up a very solid win and some very big points. And we go over the line in P7, so not bad at all considering the lobby that we was in. You can see that Org obviously had an issue in that race also. I don't know what happened to him. Looks like he may have hit the wall or something. But we come away with a P7, a solid drive, 15 seconds behind Lightning, but we were about 6-7 seconds behind after turn 1, so not too bad. The pace was okay, it wasn't particularly amazing, it could have been better, but a solid drive. And you can see how competitive that lobby was, all the way down. I think Kowster and P, towards the back of the grid, obviously had a bit of a nightmare of a race. So that really just shows you how strong this lobby was. And absolutely insanely in terms of strength all the way through the grid. And we come away with 1,900, just under 2,000 points from that race for a P7 in a very high strength for field race. However, I decided that I was going to race again, so I'm going to show you part 2 of the FIA Nations Round 2 in the next day's video. We actually did 2 more races, one that was a disaster, which dropped me back down to 0 points, so we had a final attempt at 9 PM to put things right, which I'll show you tomorrow, and hopefully you enjoyed that video as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. Click the notification button so you don't miss any future videos, and I'll be back with more videos and streams very soon. Thanks again for watching, everyone.